What's up, everyone? Welcome to Recalibrate the podcast. I'm your host, Calla Page, and this week I wanted to try something a little bit different. I never really come on and speak to just my listeners, and a couple of weeks ago I was inspired to do this because I got a text from a friend, someone who I went to high school with, who I truthfully never would have anticipated or expected listened to my podcast. And he was like, Calla, I just want you to know I listen to every one of your podcasts and you're awesome at it. Keep up the great work. Like, I hope you keep podcasting. And I was so touched to receive that message because, like I said, I really just would have never expected this person to listen to my podcast. And then I thought, I wonder if there's other people out there who maybe don't follow me on socials or I don't come up on their algorithm, but they find my podcast or they know me and they love me and they support me, and maybe they just listen to my podcast. So I thought it would be fun to maybe just talk to you guys a little bit more than I normally do and share some, quick minor updates about what's been going on in my life or what's alive for me right now or whatever it may be. Maybe some more insight or behind the scenes about the episode. So, if you are a diligent listener, thank you. First and foremost, thank you for listening to me yap. That means the world to me. And you've probably noticed that I haven't been releasing episodes lately. Truthfully, I had a lot going on in my personal life. I'm not going to get into it as much as I would really, 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 really love to. I just feel like I can't get into the details of what's going on in my personal life. But suffice it to say, Jake and I were really busy. And I just decided that I needed to put my podcast on the back burner for a little bit and just take a break for myself. I really wanted to make sure that when I was releasing episodes, I was giving each episode the attention that it deserves. So I've also decided to switch my release schedule from being every week to every 2 weeks because on Instagram, I do like to promote the podcast. You can find me at Recalibrate if you don't already know that. And I was finding that I was kind of rushing through doing the promo and sharing clips and things like that. I would also like to share some of these clips on YouTube instead of just the long form. This software that I use is called Riverside and it creates clips for me. So I thought if I had 2 weeks of time in between each episode, I could really give each episode the time and the honor and the moment that it deserves. So thank you for your patience and thank you to people who listen. Like I said, it just really means a lot to me to receive those messages that people listen and that you think I do a good job. A lot of times I feel like I'm just speaking to the ether or that I maybe even look stupid by having a podcast because, like, who the fuck do I think I am to have a podcast? So, when I do receive those messages, especially from unexpected people, but really from anyone, even from my best friends, like, it really is the fire that keeps me going, the fuel to why I do what I do. And it just means so much to me. So thank you for taking the time to listen. If you're new here, thank you for being here. If you've been here, thank you for being here. I just really appreciate you taking the time out of your one precious life to listen to me yap while you're driving or doing the dishes or whatever it is that you're doing. So thank you so much. And shout out to that homie who sent me that text message because it really, truly meant the world to me. So anyway, I think that's all I have to say for that. This episode, Katie and I recorded a while ago at this point, and it really is a beautiful episode about the grief that can come from losing a pet and the ways that we can get involved with pet shelters. We talk about puppy yoga and the grief of losing a pet. Katie talks a lot about the work that she does with the shelters. She's also created an oracle card deck with puppies and pets. So it's really been awesome to see the ways that Katie has allowed her grief from losing her dog Champ, like her soul dog, to move her and inspire her and, allow her to create these beautiful offerings in the world. So I really want to thank Katie for coming on and having this conversation with me. and her patience in releasing this episode. And I'm really looking forward to sharing this one with you guys. So thank you again so much. If you do listen and you enjoy it, I would appreciate a 5-star review, a comment, a text, anything that you feel so inspired to share with me. Like I said, it is the fuel that keeps me going, and it means the world to me. So thank you so much for being here, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Recalibrate the Podcast, where we believe that telling stories matters and listening to stories is one of the easiest and most fun ways to change the way we do or think about something. I am your host, Calla Page, and today I'm here with my friend Katie of Paws and Breathe, PAWS, and we're going to be talking all about animals and pet grief and puppy yoga and all of the wonderful things that Katie does to help the animals in today's world. She's an activist and a fundraiser for rescue animals. She does puppy yoga in an ethical, helpful way for rescue animals, really kind of maybe more like dog yoga sometimes. She also hosts a monthly pet grief circle. She has a lot of resources on her website about pet grief. And as you guys know, I love to talk about and create spaces for us to talk about our grief. So I'm really excited to have Katie on, who has just really brought a lot of awareness to the realness and the magnitude that you can feel with the loss of an animal and how real that grief is as well. She also has an oracle card deck, Pause and Reflect. So we'll pull a card from that at the end. I'm just really excited for this episode. She's really knowledgeable about this, you know, all things animals, and is really passionate about animals, and is particularly dogs, and getting, you know, dogs in shelters a home. And she's really engaged in that community. So it's an honor to have her. If you've been listening for a while, you know we've done a podcast before, and I'm just really excited to have her back again and just love her work. So I'm really excited to share what she's doing in the world with all of you. So if you've listened to this podcast before, you know I like to take 3 deep breaths and say a prayer before we get too deep into the podcast. This just helps me mostly ground into my energy and get some of my nerves out. And also all of us can benefit from taking some time to be with our breath and just slow down. So I invite you, while you're listening, to join Katie and I in taking 3 deep breaths and just being present with the prayer. I will light a candle, and then we'll get into it. So whatever you're doing, if you have the opportunity that you can shut your eyes and just be present with your body, I invite you to do so. And we'll do 3 breaths in through our nose, out through our mouth. And I like to just let out a little sigh to communicate to my body that I'm safe in this present moment. But whatever feels good for you, that's obviously what you're welcome to do. So we'll just start by releasing our breath, and we'll breathe in together. And let it out. Again, breathe in. And let it out. Last one, deep breath in. And let it out. I'm just going to light this candle and call upon the fire. Throughout human history, we have gathered around the fire to tell our stories and share our stories and share our grief. So I just want to invite in the fire to connect all of us and thank God for this web of people who are connected here listening to this podcast. Thank you, Katie. And I just also want to call upon all of the people and animals who have passed on before us. I specifically want to call in Champ, Katie's dog who passed, who is totally with us, guiding her, and just really, lit a fire under her to create these offerings. So I just want to thank Champ for the love that he brought Katie on this earth plane, and then also the love he continues to offer her through his spirit in the afterlife. And just call upon all the other animals of our past and of everyone listening who has passed on. They are, members of our family and really bring so much love and peace and joy to our lives. And so we just want to thank you and honor the animals and give gratitude to the animals that are still here with us. And thank you for their just teachings of unconditional love and acceptance, and the ways that they just really bring so much love and joy and presence and beauty and humor and all of the wonderful things to our lives. Just so much gratitude for the animals and all of the animals, not just dogs and cats, but all of the animals on the earth, for the offerings that they bring to us, the ones that we eat, the ones that we listen to when they sing their song in the morning. Just so much gratitude for the animals and the earth that holds us. Thank you for the sun, the soil, the water, everything on this planet, the plants, the food that keeps us alive. Thank you. And thank you to the technology as well for connecting Katie and I and everyone listening. I have so much gratitude for the technology that allows us to connect, even though we're far apart. We can share these stories and this wisdom. I pray that Katie and I both have the words so we can eloquently and clearly speak about our passions and our thoughts, so that everyone listening can feel perhaps a little less alone in their pet grief, or find some joy or peace in listening to this podcast. I pray that everyone who listens just feels touched in some way and leaves the podcast a little bit changed or more at peace or feeling more connected in some way. And so I just thank you so much for this time, the technology, everyone listening. Really appreciate the opportunity to share these stories with all of you. Amen. Aho.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Katie, for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you back on my podcast.
Yeah, God, we were just talking about that when we decided to do this, that it's been probably 5 years, right? Since we laid in a bed together and talked about rest. We talked about rest.
I know, right? And now I remember then too, the animals, I was like pet sitting at the time, and the animals were like being all chaotic, crazy. And now we're here to talk about animals and the joy that they bring to our lives. So
yeah,
I wonder if you could reiterate maybe what it is that you offer, and tell a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah. So I'm the founder of a company called Paws and Breathe. I kind of like officially started Paws and Breathe in April of 2024, which was just a few months after Champ, my soul dog, passed away. He passed away in November of 2023, just the weekend after Thanksgiving. And I have been a yoga teacher since 2018. I've done fundraisers here and there. And when Champ passed, I mean, I'll be truthful in that I think I threw myself into doing something like this as a way to distract myself from the grief, the overwhelming grief that I felt. I had Champ just shy of 10 years, and I mean, we grew up together. We were just babies when we found each other, and we really grew up together and learned so much. I learned so much about animal welfare because of Champ. We didn't have pets growing up, so Champ was really my like intro into the animal welfare world. And so, yeah, I started Paws and Breathe in 2024. And since I started it, we've raised just over $40,000 for local rescues here. I'm in Phoenix. So here in Phoenix, just through yoga fundraisers, we've done other types of wellness, sound healing. We've done like rescue retreats where people in the rescue community can come and just chill out and like get some like yoga or sound healing or tarot reading or, you know, things like that. So I'm really trying to bring more wellness into the rescue space because of how many people are grieving and really struggling, not only with like personal pet loss, but also just grieving with the state of animal welfare in this country, and especially in Arizona. We see some of the worst cases
Mm.
here. So it really started out with like, I just want to raise money and I just want to like teach yoga and have fun and have dogs around. And it's really evolved into so much more than that. Like Calla mentioned, I also run pet grief circles as well. We gather monthly virtually, just like this on Zoom. And we just, you know, we talk about either the pets that we've lost or maybe the dogs in rescue that we've lost. And we just connect with one another and we tell stories and we love on one another and we, you know, help all of us feel a little bit less alone in our grief. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know you've raised over $40,000. That's
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. People love animals and people love yoga. So it's like a pretty good combo. It works pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, once you came out with Pause and Breathe, like I was like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's what Katie's here to do. It really
Yeah.
kind of also incorporates rest too, you
Totally.
know.
I am still in the rest. I'm still on the rest train. Like you know, so Calla and I met actually when I was a personal trainer and Calla worked out at a high intensity interval training gym. So both of us were not in that place and, you know, have just both of us, I think as we've gotten older and kind of understood our bodies more, you know, have leaned more into the real caretaking of our bodies, yoga, obviously, breath work and
Mhm.
things like that. So rest is still very much a part of my practice. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, really, like you said, this all came to be because of Champ. And like he was kind of the mascot of what you were doing even before he passed. You know,
Hmm.
he was very present in
Yeah.
what you were doing and just around you a lot as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then after his passing, like that's certainly one way to deal with grief is to just dive in. And I witnessed that with my mom. Like she dove into work and
Yeah.
I napped. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
everyone grieves differently, but I would love if we could um talk about Champ. I know I just
Yeah.
remembered how before we started talking, we're like, that's why I started this, is so I had an excuse to talk about Champ.
Yeah.
So I'd love to
Yeah.
hear his story.
Yeah. Well, you know, they say that when you lose someone, they kind of die two times, right? Like they die when they leave their physical body, and then they die when the last person says their name. And so, my goal with all of this is to create a legacy so strong that, like, even beyond me, people are like, "Damn, that Champ dog like must have really had." They don't need to say my name. I don't care about that. I just want them to keep talking about him. So yeah, so Champ and I met in 2013. It was right before Christmas. I was in the lowest point in my life. I was young, you know, I didn't know who I was. I was very depressed. I have always struggled with a lot of mental health issues, and I had just moved into my own apartment, so I was living alone, and it's really hard when you're struggling. And so, you know, I came to this point where I was like, I want a companion. I want someone to do life with. And so I actually went to the shelter for a different dog. It was a dog that I had seen on the website, and I was like, oh, that dog looks really cute. So I went to the shelter to meet that dog, and it just wasn't a fit. Our temperaments were just not aligned, and so um, I went to leave, and I know the people who are listening are from all over the place, but this was at the old county shelter here in Phoenix. And for anyone listening who's ever been there, it's gone now, but it was a very, very run down shelter. It was built in the 70s, and it's just decrepit. It was really, really bad. And so when I went to leave, obviously I was very emotional, right? Because it's hard to hear all the dogs barking and wanting attention and wanting your love and everything like that. So I felt very emotional. The volunteer that I was working with was like, would you be willing to meet one more dog? And this is going to make me emotional to talk about it,
It's
but
okay.
she
Me
brought
too.
me she brought me to his kennel, and his name at the time was Smudge. And I don't know who chose that name for him, but he was a white dog with like big black splotches all over him, so maybe that's why.
I
But he was
didn't
in
know
his
that.
he was in his kennel, and he was very emaciated. He was very, very skinny. He had this big like scab on his nose because he was trying to get out of the kennel. He was sick. He had kennel cough, and I don't know if he was on the euthanasia list or not. Maybe that's why she pushed me to to get him. But I just saw him, and I was like, yeah, of course I'll meet him. And she took us out, and we were at this in this like long run. And so me and my mom, who was with me, was on one end, and Smudge at the time was on the other. And I was talking to my mom, and I was like, he definitely doesn't look like a Smudge. I don't want that to be his name. And I was like, to me, he looks like a Champ. And so I said it. I was like, hey, Champ, come here. And he literally ran straight towards me and sat down and just looked straight up at me. So it was very much, I knew he was mine, and he knew I was his. He probably knew before I knew. He's like, this sucker, I got her for sure. And so the next day I brought him home, and we were inseparable. We were inseparable after that. And Champ, he really taught me a lot about dog behavior. He was a very fearful dog, and a lot of dogs, when they're fearful, they become reactive. They kind of like puff up their chest, and they'll, just as a means, kind of like a Napoleon complex almost. And so we got into some stuff together. There was a lot of things that we went through together, and some struggles that we had. And he really taught me how to be a more confident dog handler, because if he was anxious and I was anxious on top of it, it was like game over, So I needed to learn how to be a really confident dog handler, to protect him, and basically, from then I just became very passionate about animal welfare and dogs in need. And so a few years later, I started volunteering at that same shelter. And I mean, that's kind of when everything kicked off and everything really changed. Champ was the catalyst. But then early 2017, I was like, I need to start. I felt this pull to start doing something more meaningful in my life. And that's when I started volunteering, and yeah, that's when everything really changed for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you started just volunteering at the shelter, and just that looks like just trying to help get dogs adopted, and you just like
Yeah.
work there
Yeah,
basically.
I would take dogs out for walks. I would be there a few days a week, like taking dogs out for walks. Yeah, taking pictures and videos, like posting them on social media, to network them. They had like doggy play groups. So you would take dogs to play groups and like let them interact with one another. Fundraising, I volunteered for a few different rescues as well here in the Valley. So, helping them, and then after a couple of years, I started fostering dogs. And so, yeah, just anything and everything. Like I definitely spent a few years really, really like enveloped in the shelter aspect
Yeah.
of things. Yeah.
Was that hard for you to be there, like, and leave, seeing, because you mentioned when you went there to get the dog, to get the other
Yeah.
dog and ended up with Champ, how hard it was to see all the dogs,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
cages barking. Like, how did you handle that as a volunteer?
You definitely kind of build up a callus to it almost. Not to say that it didn't hurt, and not to say that it wasn't hard, but it was like I had become desensitized, and I was like, okay, this is the way it is here, and I'm going to do everything that I can in my power to help these dogs. And I also need to take care of myself. And so I had other outlets, obviously, like Calla knows, I was at the gym, 5, 6 days. I was pushing myself very hard in,
Yeah.
in that period of my life. And, And yes, it was very hard. It was also like specific dogs would pull at specific people. It was always really interesting to see because I have a big group of friends who I met volunteering, and all of us had our specific dogs. We had
Yeah.
mine was generally like the big goofy boy dogs, or like the little kind of frail, like probably dogs who had puppies before and they were female dogs. And like, we all have a type. And so sometimes it was really hard. And sometimes it was like, you know what? I walked 5 dogs today. Those dogs wouldn't have gotten out if I didn't do that. So, would feel fulfilling.
Yeah. So it's
Mm-hmm.
you're just at least doing what you can and
Totally.
brightening their lives, even though it's a shitty situation. You're like,
Exactly.
well, it's better that I was there.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to go into the shit
You
to
do.
bring your light
Yeah. Yeah.
because that's just the
Yeah.
way it is,
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
So then so you and Champ, he was inspiring you even
Yeah.
in his life, really.
Oh my
And
God. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I wouldn't be where I am like without him at all. He
yeah,
definitely, I don't know, he gave me, I mean, as cheesy as it sounds, he gave me purpose.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I have heard the term soul dog before, but I'd love if you could explain like what that means to you.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Champ just knew me, when like it felt like our souls had been together in other lifetimes before. He just knew me. And like I said, when I adopted him, I was in a really dark place, and I have always struggled, and he was always there. If
Mm.
I was crying or had a panic attack or anything like that, he would literally come and just like lay on me. Like he knew that I needed like co-regulation in that moment. He was like, well, there's nobody else here. So like, I got you. And I have another dog now, Lily, who I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit. And I love her. She's an incredible dog. She has the best temperament ever, but we don't have that same connection that Champ and I had. And he just, yeah, I guess the best way to put it is it felt like I've known him in a million different lifetimes. That's,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. And yeah, it's like I've heard, maybe you get more than one soul dog, but I've always heard
Yeah.
like you get a soul dog and it's your heart dog, and that
Yeah.
it just is different than
Yeah. Yeah.
other dogs.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you love Lily less, or it's just a different
No. It's
connection.
different. It is very, very much different. And it's so funny because, like I said, Lily's literally, she's never met a stranger. I foster cats now because she can be around cats. She's never had an issue with dogs. She loves all people, no fear reactivity, nothing. She's literally like the perfect dog. And also, like, she's not my soul dog. And that's not a bad thing because I love her and I'm so glad she's in my life. I'll kind of tell you the way Champ's passing went is, I had been fostering dogs, and Lily came in May of 2023. I started fostering her. She was on the E list at the county. She was on the euthanasia list at the county shelter. Her name was Katie. And so I was like, well, fuck, like I started fostering her sight unseen because like her name was Katie. I couldn't let her go down like that. So I brought her home, and I always do a slow integration because Champ has had issues with other dogs in the past. It took us like a week, and literally I had never seen Champ so happy with another dog. They were so connected. They were so bonded. I have pictures, so many pictures of them like laying right next to each other, playing with each other, like, just a really incredible connection that I saw. So that was May of 2023. She had a few meet and greets, like people came and wanted, and every person that met her, I was like, it's just not exactly right. It's like not quite right. In October of 2023, I was like, I'm keeping this dog. Like, she's absolutely incredible. Champ loves her. She loves Champ. Like, there's no way she's going anywhere. And exactly a month later is when Champ passed. So I fully believe that Lily came for Champ to pass the torch to him, so she could be, obviously there, but like he knew that she would be able to be there for me in my grief too, right? And just like hold that. She's a very steady dog, you know, nothing really gets her going. And so he knew like, shit's probably going to get pretty ugly. This is the dog that's going to help you through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's phenomenal. I cannot
Yeah.
believe that like a month after Lily came, but he needed to know you were going to be okay
Exactly.
before he
Because I
could.
wouldn't have been without him, you know,
Yeah.
like he needed he needed to know like my mom's not going to off herself because like you know what I like, truthfully.
I know. We'll keep it
You
real
know.
here. Like
Yeah,
I'm with you
trigger
on that.
warning. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, trigger warning.
It's okay. No, but I
But
mean
yeah.
that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Like when you have struggled with depression and anxiety and
Mhm.
all of those things, and then you're
Yeah.
suddenly thrown into grief, like,
Yeah.
did you
Yeah.
know that Champ was struggling, or was it kind of sudden?
It was very sudden. Yeah. We just basically, in the span of like 18 hours, he went from what I thought was fine to, we ended up at the emergency vet and they did an ultrasound. And what we presume was that he had a mass on his heart and it ended up bursting, which is very, very common. That these dogs have cancer. Hemangiosarcoma is a very common form of cancer in canines. And but because they mask so well, because they hide it so well, we often don't know until the last moments. Yeah. And I will say that the emergency vet that I went to, I know not everybody has the best experience. I was very, very fortunate because when I first went in, I just was like, something's off, like he's not doing okay, but we'll get it fixed. And then they showed me what was wrong and kind of gave me like the treatment options. And I really, really hoped that I could bring him home at least for another day and I could let him pass at home. And the vet very compassionately just sat with me and said, like, you wouldn't be wrong for choosing humane euthanasia in this moment, and so I just had to think about, like, he was already struggling so much. Did I want to get him in the car and drive him home and then, do all that, or, just find my last few moments with him and really tell him how much I love him and, and go through with the euthanasia, which is what we did end up doing. Yeah.
Oh God, my
Yeah.
heart, just to have to make that decision and then
Yeah.
be there. And
Yeah. Yeah. It was really hard. And I am, as much as I wish it wouldn't have, as much as I wish it wouldn't have happened, I am okay with the way that it did happen, and I know people always go back and forth, like, would you rather have it be sudden or have it be something long and drawn out? And I very much have a hard time witnessing suffering, and I didn't want to see him suffer.
Yeah,
I don't
for sure.
want to see anybody suffer. Like, it just felt like the most compassionate thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just want to take a moment to honor that grief because, like I shared before we started recording, like when my dad died, and before my dad died, I had this like hierarchical view of grief in that, like, people would talk about the grief of a pet and I'm like, fuck you, my dad died. Like, that doesn't matter. And then a year after my dad died, we had gotten a cat and she was like my cat and she was Jake's cat. And she was she just kind of came into our lives. And, then she went missing after just having her for a year. She was like, barely a year and a couple months old. And oh my God, did it just like rip my heart open. Like Jake and I were just crying. We'd wake up in the middle of the night crying. And the grief, I just realized, like, in that moment, like, I was like, oh my God, it's the same grief. Like, it is real grief when you lose a pet. Like, it's losing a family member and losing, like your baby. Like, it's part of your family and they're your best friend and they're with you all the time. And then they're gone. And that grief it feels the same. And so I just want to apologize to anyone if I've ever made you feel like your pet grief isn't real, because
It is.
absolutely is. And you've taught me a lot about that too. And
Yeah.
yeah, I just really think the work that you're doing to give a place for pet grief, because I know I'm also not the only one who's had that
Yeah.
hierarchical view of grief. And so I think it's really important that you're giving a place for this very real grief to exist and be witnessed and held by, our community.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, it's valid, and we see it, like you said, you're not the only one who has had that view in the past. And something I will say also about grief is, well, two things. It's obviously like you don't get through life without grieving. None of
Yeah.
us do. Every single one of us will experience loss in some way. And also, at least for me personally, so when I was very, very young, I had an older brother who passed away, and I was 2. So, I never really got to know him or got to have a
Mm,
relationship with him, and also never really knew how to grieve that, because I was like, well, I don't even know you. And like, what is this all about? And I will say that Champ's loss also ripped that wide
mm,
open, which I'm sure when you lost your cat, that probably also dipped back into the grief that you had for your dad, have
totally.
for your dad as well. And so, like, all of this grief compounds and intertwines, and like we can't separate one from the other. um it's very, I was just on a Zoom call earlier, and I'll have to send it to you, but I just saw, what did she call it? Like the tangled ball of grief or tangled web of grief or something. It was just a picture, but it like showed all of the various emotions that get all tangled up in grief and everything that we experience, because it's not just sadness, right? It's not just despair. There's also rage.
Hmm.
There's anger. There's, confusion. There's all these different emotions. And so, um, yeah, it, it's also intertwined, that it's hard to say what grief deserves more airtime than another type of grief.
Totally. And I
Yeah.
appreciate you saying that, because that was my experience. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
lost my cat and it suddenly brought up new and different grief about my dad. And, I had no idea that you lost a brother at such a young age. And
Yeah.
that's a complex
Yeah.
grief as well. And so it isn't isolated. Nothing
Mm-hmm.
is isolated. It's all webbed together, and then it kind of reactivates and reignites and shows different parts of our grief that maybe we haven't been able to access before,
Totally.
so,
Absolutely.
which is a blessing in a sense too, that losing Champ allowed you to access layers of grief for your brother that you hadn't previously been able to.
Absolutely. And losing Champ also, both adopting Champ and losing Champ has made me 1,000 times more compassionate of a person and 1,000 times more empathetic of a person. And sometimes that really hurts, because I'm like, fuck, now I feel so deeply because of this dog that like just brought this into my life. But it is a gift, right? Because now I can sit with people in their hardest moments, and I don't like using the term hold space, but like I can be there, and I can let all those emotions kind of flow around without it dysregulating me, or without, me trying to push it away or trying to tell them you're not allowed to feel this, or get another pet, or like whatever those things might be. Like it's really, I actually was just thinking about this, of doing an Instagram post, but about something like this. But losing Champ was the most painful gift I've ever been given, but it's a
Mm,
gift nonetheless.
yeah, absolutely. And there is this, like, I just did one on pregnancy loss, a podcast on pregnancy loss yesterday, and we got into this about how, like, people will say, oh, just you can try again, or like
Yeah.
you can get another dog. Like, it's just this, it's, I think it's because of our hierarchical view of grief that we think, like, oh, it's an animal, you can just get another one. But
Mm-hmm.
or you can just have another baby or whatever. But like, it doesn't work like that. Like, Champ is the only Champ that will
Mm-hmm.
have ever, I mean, there's probably other dogs named Champ, but like, he's the
His
only,
soul.
yeah,
Yeah.
the
One
soul of,
soul.
right.
Yeah.
He's the only dog that will ever exist like that, that will ever have that relationship with
Yeah.
you, because it's also tied to like a very specific time in your life, you know, like even if you have another soul dog, it will look completely different than
Mhm.
how it did with Champ. And to say like, oh, just get another dog is not helpful, nor
Yeah,
is it
for sure.
like, it may
Yeah.
kind of put a band, you know, like you having Lily there certainly put a band-aid on
Mhm.
your grief, you know. And I did ultimately get two more cats and I love them, and
Mhm.
that brought me joy and peace. But like the grief of Artemisia being gone and Champ being gone is still there, and
Oh my God, yeah,
there's never
absolutely.
going to be another.
Yeah,
They're the one and only. They're
totally.
irreplaceable.
Yeah. I think it also goes with just this idea or this reminder that, you know, when you lose someone, you not only do you lose them, but you also lose the version of yourself that you were when they were here, right? So when Champ was here, I was a certain version of myself. And there are definitely aspects of myself that I miss, you know, and so, yeah, you could get a million other dogs or a million other cats, or you could try for a million more babies, and yet there's that almost, I guess it's almost like a nostalgic feeling, right? Like just wishing for that time back, and that
Right.
sense of energy back in your life that they brought.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's irreplaceable, and you are grieving parts of yourself as
Mm-hmm.
well, that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there are aspects of you that Champ brought out,
Yeah.
and no one, you know, same with my dad or whatever it is, like whatever being or animal it is on the other end, like there's aspects of that relationship and that dynamic that die when
Yep.
that animal or person dies.
Totally.
But it also, you know, it, like you said, it is inherent in the human experience. And Francis Weller says, you know, everything you love, you will lose.
Mm-hmm.
Everything,
Yeah.
everything. And that's a really fucking daunting thought to have at times, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like sometimes the thought of getting another animal is daunting because you know you're going to have to go through this pain again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And but at the same time, like you said, it was a gift, and
Mm-hmm.
you're a different person, a better person, a more empathetic person, and you've created a whole business. And not even just like business doesn't even sound right, because it's so much more than like a
Yeah.
business. It's like a passion project, really,
Totally.
like a purpose
Yeah. Yeah.
from.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And um yeah, I mean it has really been a gift. And oh, something I wanted to mention, you talked about that Francis Weller quote, you know, everything you love you will lose. It has, I'm not obviously not perfect at it, but it has taught me to just love that much more, right?
Mhm.
Knowing Lily won't be here forever, you know, or knowing my friends won't be here forever, and life as it is won't be here forever, right? So it's again just taught me to be a lot more tenderhearted, which can be very painful at times. And I wouldn't want it any other way. You know, like I don't want to be hardened by grief or by fear or by any of those other things. I want to be this like soft, you know, as I can be human. And that does mean that like my heart is going to break every day, pretty much every day. My
Yeah.
heart breaks for various reasons, you know?
Uh-huh. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it does
Mm-mm.
inform how we move, and we can, you
Yeah.
know, like a lot of times I'll be like, man, I don't want to go on a walk right now, and I'm like, ah, but Takayo's gonna die, and
Mm-mm.
then I'm gonna regret that
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
walk him as much as I possibly could, you know, and give
Totally.
him the best life
Yeah.
that I could. And it's so unfair that it's so short.
Yeah. It really is. It's really hard. Um, it's really hard. Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't really have any caveats for that. It's just really hard.
Yeah.
You know?
And all we can do is just try and let it inform us on how we can love more and be more present and
Totally.
live in a
Yeah.
way that hopefully we won't regret or have too many regrets. I think we always have some regrets, and think
Yeah.
I think it's pretty normal to look back and be like, oh, I wish I would have blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and I think what this has done and Champ's Loss has done is, you know, what I do with Pause and Breathe really feels like an expression of all of that. It just feels like, I'm trying to think of how I want to word it. I don't know. It just feels like an expression of like, I don't have my soul dog to love anymore. So I want to like spread this love in as many different directions to as many different people and as many different dogs as I possibly can.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and you're doing that. Like I said, it really feels like you've found your purpose and your flow. And like, you know, Champ is, I do believe that spirits or energies live on I mean, even if only through us remembering them and allowing their spirit to drive us. And I can just
Yeah.
see that drive in you, and it's really been beautiful to witness you just like come into this very aligned purpose that it's like, wow, Katie, you know, before it was like, I care about animals, I care about rest and yoga, and how do I tie it all together? And then it was like Champ passed, and now this beautiful,
Yeah.
like, you know, passion project that incorporates everything you're passionate about came to be. And like, wow, it's amazing.
Thank you. I do definitely, well, you saw that the post that I did. I do definitely sometimes feel like, man, I'm all over the place. I'm a very multi-passionate person. You know, I don't know if you know much about human design or the people, you know, here that know about or that are listening that know about human design, but I am a manifesting generator. And so like my hands are in so many different things because there are so many things I'm passionate about. And yes, like raising money to help other homeless animals is I'm very passionate about, and teaching people to slow down and take care of their bodies is something I'm very passionate about. Grief obviously is something I'm very passionate about. You know, we talked a little bit about puppy yoga and like unethical puppy yoga, something I'm very passionate about bringing to light so people know like where their money is going and where it could be, you know, used better. Yeah, I'm all over the map.
But it, from the outside looking in, it really all fits under this umbrella of Pause and Breathe, like,
Yeah.
especially because it's PAWS,
Yeah.
but it's still like paw. It's just great. Like, it doesn't seem
Thank
all
you.
over the place to me. It seems very niched, but I resonate with that. And but I mean, I remind myself the same thing. Like, I chose the name Recalibrate because it gave me the freedom to talk about
Yeah.
whatever I want.
Everything. Totally.
And you know, I think that there's historically been a pressure to niche, but I think that that's kind of
Yeah.
dying in a sense, you know.
Yeah. And I definitely, I won't, I've stopped caring, honestly. Like I've had to, because also something that I have learned in this time is that like we don't have animal welfare if we don't have human welfare, right? Like so many of the issues that we see in the animal welfare space is because humans are not resourced, right? Because
Right.
people don't have the money to spay or neuter their dogs, or if their dog gets out, they don't have the money to go to the shelter and pay for the fee to get them back, you know, and people are losing their homes. Like there's a lot of really hard shit that's going on that is affecting human beings, which then impacts the animals. So I went from when I first started volunteering from being that person that was like, humans fucking suck, humans are the worst, that's why we're in this mess, to now understanding that like we can't, like again, everything is intertwined. Like if
Mm-hmm.
humans are not doing well, animals are not doing well. So I've started to kind of look at like, well, yoga obviously is one way to help human beings, but like, how do we also help humans so they are better resourced, that they can take care of their pets, you know,
Yeah,
better as well. Yeah.
absolutely. It's all related, you know, and it's even just in that, like, how you were saying, Champ, if Champ's anxious and then you're anxious,
Mm-hmm.
then it's like a
Totally.
shit show. You know,
Totally.
our animals also just feed off of our own
Mm-hmm.
energy. So we're going to give them a better life if we can give ourselves a better life, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So what, so, you know, obviously this whole Pause and Breathe was born. Can you tell me about like, when did that hit you? Like, how did
Um,
it come to be?
that's a really good question. I have no clue. I have no clue. Like, obviously, like once when Champ passed away, I definitely like took a few months and just like allowed myself to be in it as best I could. And then in 2024, I think what ended up happening was I told you before, after I became a yoga teacher, I had done a few fundraisers. I was like, oh, this is really fun. It's a really cool way to give back and everything like that. And then in 2024, my hope when Champ passed away was to get back to going back to the shelter more regularly. Um, but it just wasn't happening. It was just not something that like my nervous system was in a place where it could handle. And so I just started thinking about like what are other ways that I can help, right? There's boots on the ground and there's people that are able to do that work, and be at the shelter and enrich the dogs there and everything. And so I just kind of like tapped in and was like, oh, well, I used to do fundraisers. Like, why don't we start doing those again? But I don't really know. I don't really know how it got to be what it is now. It just kind of like, I did one fundraiser and it was super successful. And so I was really excited about it. And then, I actually at first did not have a social media. Like I just didn't want to. I didn't want to do any of that stuff. But then I just like started recognizing like, okay, well, you're not going to be able to reach enough people without having it, which is such a bitch, but like it's the truth.
Yeah.
And so I started the Pause and Breathe Instagram and like, I don't know, rescues just started reaching out to me and wanting to do different things and doing different types of fundraisers. And now I do like, last August was our second year of, we do a monthly yoga challenge in August where I like do on demand videos for people and they have like, they log a certain amount of hours doing yoga or doing meditation and it all raises money for dogs. And so things just kind of started evolving without me even trying,
Yeah.
and then other ideas started dropping in like late 2024 is when the Oracle deck idea started dropping in. And I had never done anything like that before. So I had to do a lot of research of like, how the hell do you even like create an Oracle deck and how do I raise the money for it? Cause they're fucking expensive to
Yeah.
like make and have printed and everything. Um, so I don't know like you said, like I think I just like stepped into this lane where is my purpose. And that's when like the universe was like, all right, like we're just out of your way and like things are going to start flowing to you. So it's crazy.
That's great. I feel
Yeah,
like it's Champ too, just like,
of
you know,
course.
helping
Yeah,
guide the people to you to help find you. And then,
always.
you know,
Yeah,
you really haven't had to do,
yeah,
like, it kind of comes to you, which is a
yeah,
beautiful gift. Once
yeah,
you set
yeah.
your mind on what you wanted to do and where your heart was and your passion was, you've been really supported in that, which is goals, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I think the support comes from it being something that also gives back, right?
Hmm.
Like I think we're in a time now more than ever, at least more than ever in my life, where people are being more conscious about like where their money is going and
Hmm.
what and who they're supporting. And, and I am I know you're the same. Like I am very justice oriented and I'm very much just like, integrity is really important to me. Like I just want to like do right by myself and like my higher calling, and I want to do right by the people around me. And um, I don't know. It I don't know. Just feels aligned. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what are your maybe we should get into what the puppy yoga, like what your puppy yoga is
Okay.
versus
Yeah.
the unethical puppy yoga.
Yeah. So, this is probably like last, I don't remember when my first video went up, but maybe last August or so. Obviously, because I'm in the space that I'm in, on my Instagram algorithm, I started getting fed sponsored ads from this company called Puppy Yoga Club. And there's multiple different companies, but this is the one that I started getting fed ads for. And basically it's like, come do yoga with us. You get to it's 11:11 where I'm at, by the way. You get to pick a specific like breed that you get to do yoga with. So like if you go whatever on Saturday, like, oh, I want to do yoga with Frenchies. I'm going to go and I'm going to do yoga with Frenchies. And so when I first saw that, I was like, wait a second, like how are they making sure that they have the exact breed? And they're all these designer breeds, like mini doodles, Frenchies, like all the cutie little, whatever breeds. And so I was like, okay, what is this? I'm going to look into this more.
Of
And so I
course.
went onto their website and it says they like, oh, well, we partner with ethical breeders and we partner with rescues. And I was like, oh, interesting. So I went back to their Instagram and I just like was like commenting on the videos like, hey, like I'm in Phoenix. I partner with rescues as well. Like, being very passive aggressive. But I was like, what rescues have you partnered with? I'd love to chat with you, blah, blah, blah. Never, no answer, no nothing. And so I started sharing it with my friends just privately, and people would go on there and be like, oh, hey, like what rescues do you partner with? We'd love to hear more. They never answered. People's comments started getting deleted. I actually got blocked. So
Of
I'm
course you did.
blocked, not just Pause and Breathe, but also my personal Instagram account. I don't know how they found, maybe I commented, who knows? Anyway, so I'm blocked. Like I can't see any of their stuff. And then I made that first video where I was just like, yo, some sketchy shit's going on. Like, I don't really trust what's happening here. And then I had a couple people who worked for them, a couple yoga teachers who worked for them, who were like, basically saying like the dogs are coming in, they have ticks on them, they have fleas on them, like they're not giving them any food or any water, they don't have blankets, they're just like laying on this concrete floor. They are here for like 6 hours without their like handler, breeder, owner. The breeder just like drops them off and just leaves them. And there's like 4 classes in a day. And these are puppies. Puppies sleep like 20 hours a day. Like so I was like, this is just not looking good. So we actually did a protest. We stood outside because I just wanted to raise awareness for people. Yeah, I love you shaking your head. Like, I just wanted to raise awareness. So we stood outside. I have like a little like blog that I wrote about it because if you go on Reddit and you Reddit Puppy Yoga Club, it's all over the country. And there's rescues that are saying like, oh, we partnered with them and they never gave us their money. So anyway, all this to say like it's still ongoing, but I'm just getting more and more information of this company that's doing some really unethical practices and the dogs are not being well taken care of. So it's natural that people, when they see I do puppy yoga, they're like, wait, I thought you were against puppy yoga. So how I run my puppy yoga sessions is, first of all, it's one session in a morning, like one session a day. They're always rescue dogs, which is why I can't like guarantee like, oh, you're going to get this breed because they're rescue dogs. They're all mixed breed. The handlers are always there. Like the rescue that they are with is always there, making sure that everything's okay. Usually they even have like a separate pen where like if a dog is getting overwhelmed, they just put him in there so he can rest and like chill out and not get super overstimulated. So I truly believe that there is an ethical way to do any type of animal yoga and that there's an unethical way. And for me, if you are like breeding animals for profit and you are not properly taking care of these animals, if these animals are having ticks and fleas and like are sick and things like that, that is unethical.
Yeah.
And so when I do it, I only partner with rescues and we only do it once and we make sure that the puppies are getting proper rest and proper nutrients. And there's some rescues that I won't do it with. I vet my rescues too. I make sure that the rescues that I work with are ethical as well.
Yeah.
And it's very, I don't even want to say it's nuanced, but it's complex. It's a really complex issue. And again, in Arizona, we have this massive pet overpopulation problem, and there's, backyard breeders all over the place that are doing irresponsible breeding. And so it's a really hard conversation to have, because I also think it's valid if people want a certain type of dog for a certain lifestyle, that's okay. But when it comes to like dogs almost being used as entertainment, and not being well taken care of or being loved by whoever is bringing them or looked out for, it just doesn't sit right with me.
Right. And I mean, I also think, there's a different mission, like when you're doing this yoga with the rescue animals, like even if you didn't give all of the profit, like I know you often do it as a fundraiser, but like even if you only gave like 10% to the whatever and you took money like and made money, I'm okay with that, because you got to eat and take care of yourself. But there's still an emphasis on like the goal is to get these animals out into the public, and maybe they meet their soul mom or soul
Totally.
dad at this event, and then they
Totally.
get adopted, and that's like the mission, so like you can make money on a good mission or donate parts or whatever,
Totally.
but this other puppy yoga that you were talking about, you mentioned it's $70 a ticket.
Oh yeah, it is. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
and it's like 20 minutes of yoga and like 30 minutes of puppy playtime or something. It's a cash grab. I mean, in my opinion, it's a cash grab for sure. Right. They have found something that is starting to gain popularity. And we said before we got on the recording, like the guy is like a serial CEO or a serial investor. So clearly he came in and was like, oh man, like this is lucrative.
Yeah.
But we can't, like if we work with rescue, we can't guarantee dogs, because you never know what happens in rescue. Dogs get adopted all the time. Like you don't know. So it's almost like you have to work with breeders in order to do it at like the breakneck pace that they are doing it at, because I think it's Saturdays and Sundays almost every weekend, and it's 4 classes a day. So it's like, it's definitely a cash grab. Yeah.
Well, and like, if you want to charge $70 for your yoga class because you're giving some to the, like rescued animals aren't sold for $2,500.
Exactly. Yeah,
like
for
they're
sure.
sold, I don't even know how much they are, but it's like a rehoming adoption fee. Like they don't make their money on breeding dogs. Like these dog breeders make money selling, like breeded, full bred, whatever dogs.
Yeah.
So they don't need a $70 ticket to like raise funds for them to make money selling their expensive dogs.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a totally different.
Yeah. And you will get a lot of breeders that say, I don't make any money off of this. And if there is a true ethical breeder, and I have a good friend who I have had many, many conversations about ethical breeding with. She heavily involved in the rescue community. She's had a couple of dogs that she wants to show. So she like went through an ethical breeder, but if you're going through an ethical breeder, there's like a wait list. It's like, oh, if I want this type of dog, I'm going to wait a year for it. Whereas these breeders that are coming in to these puppy yoga, it's literally like you can adopt the dog that day. And that's pretty much how you know a breeder isn't ethical, is if you can just go up and be like, I want that dog. And it's like you're at a pet store. Because then you know that they're not doing all of their due diligence. Like, are they doing a home visit to make sure like you're the right home for this type of dog, or all of those things. So a truly ethical breeder will not make money because of all of the work that they put into making sure these dogs are healthy and loved and all that. But these breeders that are just dropping their dogs off at Puppy Yoga Club and the dogs are having fleas and ticks on them are not ethical breeders.
Oof, I don't think we got to Kyle from an ethical breeder.
And it's hard to know. You don't know. You literally do not know until you know. There's a ton of like I said, I am not even in an authority on the topic of ethical breeding either. I have a friend, actually a couple of friends who I very much respect in that space, and you could sit down and talk to them, and they are very, they have a good ability to educate on it. But all I know is if you are just popping into someone's house on a Saturday and like just randomly picking out a dog, it's not considered ethical. And like I said,
Mm,
you don't know until you know. I've had multiple family members who that's kind of how they've done it, and then they've recognized like, oh, that probably wasn't the best way to go about it. I'm going to adopt this time, or I'm going to do
yeah.
whatever. Like there's no, I don't think there should be any judgment or shame if you don't know.
Yeah.
Now, once the people know better, then
Yeah.
it's like, okay, so if we want to do better next time, it's up to us to know better. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah.
Well, for the record, Takayo, so my dad died on February 9th of 2023, and Takayo was born February 14th, 2023.
Mm,
And in like April or sometime, whenever he was however many weeks old,
mm,
um, sometime after that, we got a message Jake had a trailer for sale on Facebook Marketplace, and this
mm.
breeder hit him up and was like, "Hey man, hear me out. Like, I got
Oh,
Newfoundland puppies.
oh my
Do you want
God.
a puppy for the trailer?" And we were
Oh,
like, "Fuck yeah, we want
oh,
a puppy." Like, because we would never go to a breeder. That just
yeah,
wouldn't be our style.
yeah,
But
yeah,
like Jake had been talking, he's like, I just want a big dog. Like, I want a big dog because we have Peanut, and Peanut's
yeah.
also a designer dog, dude. Jake's ex-wife bought him for their daughter, and then it didn't work out with her, so Jake always says he rescued Peanut from his ex-wife. And
Yeah.
so we have like basically $5,000 worth of dogs, which
Yeah, yeah.
we are not, we'd
Yeah.
go to the shelter. But
Yeah.
when we were given the opportunity to get
Oh
a
my God.
newfie,
Yeah.
we were like, yeah, we'll trade
Yeah,
this trailer. So that's how we
totally.
got to Kyle. But now that you're mentioning this, I'm like, oof, well, I don't know that he's the
Yeah.
most ethical breeder, but we didn't put money
And
in his pocket. So
yeah, and also like that's it. You didn't know, right? Like I'm definitely not here to shame anybody who
yeah,
doesn't know. I'm here to talk about it so people can know, right? And
right.
so people can recognize the like patterns potentially of a backyard breeder, because definitely trading a dog for a trailer, probably pretty backyard breeder energy.
Yeah. I mean, we did get him from his backyard, but I mean, he lived on
Yeah.
like a farm. And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And again, like we just don't know. And the best thing that we can do is talk about these things and
right.
have these conversations so that someone can hear, and maybe they hear themselves in the situation and they're like, oh, whoa, okay, I've been thinking about getting another dog. Now I know, like, go to the shelter, or I need to do some research into what exactly. And you could just go on Google and basically say, like, how do I know if a breeder is ethical? And there's um, multiple articles that will talk about it. But yeah, we don't know what we don't know until we know
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, there is no, like, my intention's never to shame anyone. And I don't feel ashamed. Like, I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I was just like, a newfie? Like,
Totally.
great,
Yeah.
let's go. And now he's my soul dog. Like, I love him so
Yeah.
much. I feel like he was, like, get like a gift from my dad. And people are often like,
Yeah.
I've had like 3 or 4 people reach out to me and be like, Kala, like, don't take this the wrong way, but your dog looks like your dad. I'm like, I think so too. Like, he just has these
Oh.
human eyes, and he's named Takayo. Like, my
Oh.
dad wrote a book called The Spirit of Takayo, and we were driving home with
Oh, that's
him,
cool.
and Jake was like, what if we named him Takayo? I was like, oh, I love that.
I
So
love that.
yeah, and it actually means namesake in Spanish, or like brother or sister of the same name. So
Oh.
it's funny because, like, if we call, for one of the cats, or call for Peanut, or talk, or like Emery or whoever, Kyle comes running, it's like he thinks his name is everyone's name.
Yeah.
So it's
Oh.
it's cute. But yeah, we didn't know. And
Totally.
now
Yeah.
I know. And it was,
Absolutely.
yeah, at least he
Yeah.
has a good home. That's he still
Absolutely.
matters as a being on the
Yeah.
planet, you know, these backyard breeded dogs too. So
Yeah, he is very loved. Clearly, he's
yeah.
very loved.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love seeing him with the cats. Like whenever you post, dude, that's the cutest. Just a big dog. I mean, I have it with Lily, like a big dog and a little cat. Dude, can't. That's the
It's
best
so
combo.
cute.
It's the cutest fucking
I
thing.
know. And you've really come around to cats too, because you weren't
Yes.
much of a
Yes. I
cat
am I
lady.
am slowly becoming a cat lady. Well, and I'll tell you the story of how this happened because okay, so Champ died in November of 2023. Um, in late October of 2024. So on, I can never remember the exact date of it, but the day of the beloved pets, you know how Dia de los Muertos, there's like multiple days and they
Oh
have a
yeah.
specific day for pets. So on
Mm.
that night, I always have like a little altar for him, but I put his more like elaborate altar out. I lit his candles. I put French fries out there because he really loves fries and carrots and everything. And I just kind of like asked him to come and visit and, you know, and be with us. The next day, I was driving to the gym, and a teeny tiny little kitten rolled out into the middle of the street. I was on baseline, like just past after it, I was on baseline. And at first I didn't know what it was. And like luckily traffic was stopped at a red light on Kyrene. And so I like jump out of the car and I run and get it. And it's this teeny little torty kitten. And she was probably like, I don't know, 4 weeks old, like really, really young. And so I was like, all right, well, I don't really know what to do. I didn't really know what to do when you find a cat. So I just like went to the vet and made sure like she checked out and everything was okay. And I had actually, a month before, I had actually just done my first kitten yoga session at a rescue. So I reached out to them and I was like, hey, I have this kitten. I will foster her. Like, can you just back her? Like, we got to get her space surgery and all that kind of stuff. And they said yes. And so I brought her home and named her Matcha, and she became, you know, my first cat that I had ever fostered, or first kitten. And dude, she like opened my eyes to how fucking cool cats are. Like I never knew. And she was just, I mean, she was a kitten, so she was chaos, but
Yeah.
like just such a cool little being. And she got adopted, and she's very loved. She has a cat sister, and so ever since then, I've been fostering cats. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at now.
And wasn't it that Champ, you couldn't foster cats with Champ because he didn't
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
along with cats, you know,
Yeah.
he understandably.
Yeah.
And then, but Lily's like fine.
Yeah. She's Lily's bomb proof. So yeah, she gets along with cats. Like, yeah, Champ had a pretty strong prey drive. So no cats in the house. And so I just like slowly like introduced her. I brought her home. I like had her in my shirt and I was like, Lily, like sniffer. And like I just trust her so much and she listens really well. So yeah, then I became a cat foster.
Wow. And you have a cat. I saw a cat before we started, like
Yes.
walk on your.
Yeah, I have Artemis right now. She's a sweetie. We love her.
No way, Artemis. That's like
Yeah.
Artemisia.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe one day you'll adopt a cat. You might meet your soul cat.
I might. I mean, that's the goal in what I'm doing with fostering is to just eventually find the right one because I love having one around.
Yeah.
They're really great. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Well, this has been great, Katie. I feel like we
Yeah.
touched on a lot, and I think that, you know, I learned a lot, and I hope everyone listening learned a lot too about like, you know, one thing I wanted to say again, just to bring it back to the puppy yoga is like, you like brought to my awareness that by supporting this, you know, breeder puppy yoga, the puppy yoga club, it really takes away from the funds that could go to these
Mm-hmm.
rescues and this other puppy yoga that
Yeah.
is like actually doing good work to make an impact in these animals' lives. So
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. You know, if you're spending your $70 going to a commercial puppy yoga that's got breeders, you know, yes, it's cute and it's fun. And also it's important to just be mindful of where our money goes, right? So
yeah.
if you ever are, seeing a puppy yoga ad or whatever, and you're like, oh, that would be so fun, I want to go, I would just always make sure, somewhere it says like, we're partnering with this rescue, or like, this much of our funds are going to the rescue. And just recognizing that, rescues really need our help right now more than ever, like especially in Arizona. And I know Colorado, I mean Denver, I know has an issue too, but things are really, really hard for rescue right now. And so if you can, in any way do something that supports the animals, it's always, we're always really, really grateful. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll put Katie's, information and website and like social media and everything in the show notes, so you can keep up with what she's doing. And she does, puppy yoga and grief events and all of these things. And obviously is someone that at least has my stamp of approval, and I'm sure a lot of other rescue people's stamp of approval, that she really is like in it for the animals and doing good work to like make a difference in these animals' lives. So definitely
Thanks,
give
Calla.
her a follow and support Katie rather than Puppy Yoga Club.
Thanks, Calla.
Yeah, you're welcome. And before we go, I was hoping you could, if people have been listening for a long time, they'll know that I used to always end the show by pulling an oracle card. And I've just kind of stepped away from that. But Katie created an oracle card deck, and it's all dogs. And what's cool about it is that is it all dogs of people, like real dogs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all real dogs, rescue dogs, like friends, family members, other people in the rescue community. Yeah, and each basically, when I created the Oracle deck, I did a crowdfunding campaign in order to do it. And so people would donate to the crowdfunding campaign in exchange for having their dog included in the deck. And then each card is based on what that dog taught their person. Oh. So like Champ's card, well, Champ has 2 cards, but Champ's cards, one is unconditional love. And then the other one is, oh my God. Oh, it's literally right here. The other Champ's card is everlasting legacy. So it's all about building a legacy. So yeah, all the cards are based on real dogs and the stuff that they teach us, like animals can teach us so much. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And do you still have your deck available for purchase?
Yeah, you can find it on my website. That's the easiest way to find it, is just on that portion of my website. So I have the deck, and then also we took all of the images from the deck and we created a coloring book as well. So if you're someone that likes coloring books, we have those as well too. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cute. So Katie's gonna pull us a card to close out. Okay. In honor of the animals.
Okay, so I pulled, I know you use just a recording, you don't use the video, do you?
We use the video sometimes. Will you put it a little more
in the center?
Yeah, there we go. Ooh, beyond words. Nala.
So Nala's card says, some things in life are simply beyond explanation. Instead of trying to understand the magic, just allow yourself to feel it.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the deck has like a little book too. So here I can go to.
Yeah.
Hers says, Nala reminds you that not everything beautiful needs to be understood. Some experiences are not meant to be explained, but simply felt. When you step out of your head and into your heart, you open yourself to the kind of magic that words could never capture. Let wonder wash over you without needing to make sense of it. Trust that the most profound moments often live beyond logic. Nala's spirit invites you to open your mind, soften your heart, and allow life's unexplainable beauty to move through you.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah.
That's related to grief too, because I feel like there's so many times something happens and you're like, that was a sign or whatever, but you can't even, you're like, don't even want to explain it because other people may not understand, and it doesn't even matter. Like,
it doesn't.
If it's real to you, it's totally real.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Katie. And I just really appreciate this conversation. It was inspiring and beautiful, and I loved hearing Champ's story and talking about him, and now he'll live on in this
Yeah, true.
podcast on this corner of the World Wide Web. So
thank you. I'm so grateful just to connect with you again, and also to be able to have this opportunity just to talk about Champ more. That's all I ever want to do. So thank you.
Yes, and thank you everyone for listening. Really appreciate you taking the time. And like I said, I just really encourage you to give Katie a follow, check out what she's doing, support her work, because by supporting Katie, you're supporting the animals, and that feels good for everyone. So thank you guys so much.
Funk past J's and face of blunt ashtrays and skate with punk kids. I still chase the some bad days. I'm lacing up half cabs and shake John spliffs. Whatever happened to rap, it should rest in peace to Mac, and I'm here to raise it from the dead. Cause drugs ain't cool, kid, plug you with that new shit. Turn water to wine and break bread. And if I said this all the future, would you trust I told the truth, or would you run away and tell my whole fan base? Cause sooner or later, kid, they'll take your human nature and they'll burn you at the stakes while the band plays. So, in the last words, better speak up now. I said, why do birds sing? What's a king without a crown? They all stood in silence while they listened to the sound of a madman reason with the demons he found. You can't lock up ideas, we don't even exist. I just live through the speakers and the beats that we kick. Is this forbidden fruit from the Garden of Eden? Is it freedom of speech, or am I speaking for freedom?